Conference will now be recorded.
Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is 9:02 a.m. on Saturday, September 20th, 2025. This is day 2 of the annual business meeting of the OMBT. I'd like to welcome those joining in person at Road Community College in Grants Pass and those attending remotely. If you're attending virtually, please enter your name and license number or the organization you're representing. Members of the public, please keep your camera and microphone turned off unless asked by the chair to speak during public comment. Additionally, our recording system is very sensitive, so while we are recording, please avoid side conversations, talking over one another, or other noisy disruption. We'll now call roll, starting with the board members, then staff, and finally members of the public. Please state your name, title, or license number, and the city you're from. I'm Beckett Rowan, board chair and LMT member, and I practice in Eugene.
Maria Odell, public service member from Lebanon.
Scott English, public board member, Dallas, Oregon.
Doug Giles, public health board member, Salem, Oregon.
Carol Gray, LMT board member, I'm in Portland.
Melissa Fulfer, LMT board member, Baker City, Oregon.
I'm Bob Ruark, I'm the executive director for the board.
Jeff Van Lennon, compliance and licensure manager for the board.
Mitch Breedlove, compliance specialist for the board.
Kaito Dasuneta, policy analyst for the board.
Okay, and
April Hamlin, license 8157. From Grant Pass. I'm Susie Wagner. My license number is 11194, and I'm here from Grant Pass.
Welcome, and I'm guessing we don't have anybody joining virtually, Kaite?
No, we do not.
Fantastic. Then we'll go ahead and move the approve the agenda unless there are any changes or corrections to be made at this point. Carol, did you have something?
No, I'm good. I did want to mention something that I'm not sure where to put this. I wanted to mention that we discussed yesterday the mandatory reporter training. I did that training last night, the state online training, and if there's a way to insert in this meeting my observations about that, I'm happy to talk about it.
I think, let me take a look.
I think we'll have time, so we could add an agenda item.
Well, it's going to committee, and so, like, do we need to, since it's going to committee?
Well, I think it'd be helpful. I mean,
Okay.
so the board can get an idea of what that training is about.
Okay,
We do have time.
let's put it, let's just start off with it.
Wow. There you go.
So I need, let's see, a motion to amend the agenda to discuss the mandatory reporter training. Let's do that before the board action plan.
I move to
Amend the agenda.
amend the agenda to discuss the mandatory reporter training.
Can we get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Agenda is amended. Then we still need a motion to approve the agenda
As amended.
as amended. So can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Maria, can I get a second? Scott, all in favor of approving the amended agenda?
Right.
Opposed? Motion carries. The agenda is approved. Okay, fantastic. Then we will go ahead and start with that. Carol, go ahead.
Okay, I'm trained. I did the online training that I got a certificate of completion last night. It's a self-paced training. It provides information. and has test questions at the ends of certain sections. I think it's reasonable to give people an hour of continuing ed credit for it, and I think it's reasonable to require licensees to take it. It's not profession specific. It's something that basically it applies to anybody who has, contact with children. And it also stresses that once somebody is a mandatory reporter, they are required by law to report. Even if you see something in the grocery store that's not part of your professional life, once somebody is a mandatory reporter, they need to report. And so I thought it was really useful, and it would completely fulfill the need. And I don't see any reason to kind of reinvent the wheel on this thing or try to create a training that's specific to massage therapists. I think they've done a good job of making a general training. So I did it fast. I always usually speed up the the audio when I'm viewing videos, and that was not an exception last night. I think I got through it in about a half an hour or so. But I think that if somebody was doing it, in the one-to-one speed, that it could take up to an hour, and maybe longer if people are pondering the test questions or viewing information, in it more than once. People have unlimited access, and anyway, and it's free. So anyhow, that's my take on it, and I'm open to other people's ideas about it.
Thanks, Carol. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Carol,
Yeah, it was good.
did it discuss elder abuse or just child abuse?
This was just child abuse, and I don't know if there is. It discussed in a contextual sort of way domestic violence, because a child who is exposed to domestic violence in the household is at greater risk for abuse, and so it mentioned that. But no, there was no mention of elder abuse, and I didn't do any searching around to find out if there are specific trainings out there for other vulnerable populations, and it's not just elders. It could be, disabled people, all kinds of folks could be more vulnerable to abuse. And so I presume there's something like that out there, but I didn't search for it last night.
I have a question. Just curious. So if you're in a store and you see like domestic violence or something, is that part of it? I would think a lot of people don't even know what they have to report.
In the case of domestic violence, you would have to have a reasonable concern that there is a child in that household, and that the child, is at risk of harm because of the exposure to domestic violence. It's not necessarily true that domestic abuse or domestic violence is going to affect a child in a way that is reportable, if that makes sense.
But if you just see general domestic violence, you don't have to report that.
No, this is really about kids at risk of harm that's not accidental.
In our profession, we rarely see kids. Okay.
I have a pediatric practice, so
Okay.
so it's an issue near and dear to my heart. I think that there are a number of people practicing under a massage therapy license, an increasing number of people who are seeing kids. And contact with adults could also cause somebody to be a mandatory reporter if adults are disclosing certain things or mentioning certain things to you about that are happening in their household, where you have a concern that a child is at risk of harm. You would also be responsible for reporting without ever having contact with the actual child.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carol, for that update. Then we will go ahead and move on to the board action plan update from Director Rohr.
Absolutely. Okay. So just to give a little historical reference here to board members that weren't here when we built the board built their strategic action plan. First of all, the board was kind of ahead of the curve. Most agencies have a strategic plan. It didn't become a requirement until we had our new governor, Governor Kotek. She made it a requirement that state agencies have a strategic action plan. So we had already built ours right when she made that requirement. So it was kind of nice to have it already done and kind of be ahead of the curve. When we built this strategic action plan, we do it, this one is a 5-year. The other one that we had previous to that were 2-year plans, 2 to 4-year plans. And so the idea behind it was to come up with 5 topics that the board wanted to approach. Instead of making a strategic action plan that was 15 different topics and kind of a lot going on, we were trying to keep it to 5 topics. You see there's 6, and I'll explain that in just a minute. And then we went through and kind of explored some of the short-term things we could do. And the board spent an entire day at our traveling meeting building the strategic action plan. I think it's a good one. In fact, I've got a lot of good feedback from other agencies who have reviewed our plan and said that they like the format and how the board has set it up. I want you to keep in mind that strategic action plan is sort of the long-term plan. There's some things you can accomplish right away. And there's some things that it is a 5-year plan. So some of these things cost money. Some of these things take a lot of time. So we have 5 years to complete this plan. We're a couple of years into it. And I'm going to give you an update on each topic and kind of where we're at and answer questions if you have it. In 2023, right after we built our plan, the governor made it, like I said, made it mandatory that state agencies have a strategic plan. They also made it mandatory that that we have a DEI plan, diversity, equity, inclusion plan. Some agencies, smaller boards, were able to implement their DEI plan into their strategic action plan. And when I talked to the board about it, the board was in favor of doing that because we had already done that anyway, built in our DEI plan. So, like I said, we have 6 topics. What was added just recently, which was within the last year, is the IT planning. The governor's office, because of AI, because of hacking, there's state agencies, federal agencies have a big target on their back for hackers. And so our IT department, DAS IT, in the governor's office has decided that each agency should have an IT plan. Now, there's a lot of agencies that are building, constantly doing new databases and building new pieces of equipment for their IT platform. We don't have that. We have no plans within the next, until 2028, the length of this plan to do any kind of major IT issues. So the governor's office said it was okay for us to add a tab to our plan that basically says, at this time, we don't have any, anticipate any IT investments over the next 5 years, or in this case, 3 years. And so that's that tab that meets that requirement. Had we not done that, I would have had to have built an IT strategic plan, which is a 5-6 page plan about what we were going to do. We just really had nothing going on. So, any questions so far about the historical part of this plan? Okay. I want to start with this first tab on the bottom, the processes review. So I oftentimes, when we do anything at our office, I try to keep the strategic plan in mind. And, one of the things I wanted to do when I took over as executive director, which was right before COVID, by the way, I mentioned that because some of the things I wanted to accomplish, I had hoped I've already accomplished by now. but we just couldn't get it done. We were trying to kind of fight fire, so to speak. But the process review, what I wanted to do was go through everything that we do at the board staff, and the way we do things with the board, and see if it was the best way to do it. Can we do it better? Does it need to be updated? Et cetera. And as we start doing some of these things on the right-hand side of the plan, in the notes section, I try to keep it updated. This one, there's a few things that we've done that are not updated because I have a book in my office that as we do them, I update it and I transfer it to this. And I missed a couple of things. But I'm going to go through these a little bit more than we normally do. I try to keep this almost every board meeting as something that we talk about. So the board keeps it in their mind and board staff keeps it in their mind. But I'm going to go through it. So what I wanted to do, the vision that I saw was to start with all of our forms, all of our policies, everything, written down at our board, and sort of streamline it, update it. We had some of the questions on our applications that were, outdated questions. So, they were gender specific and things like that. So we're trying to bring it up to date. And some of the things we've accomplished so far is we've gone through our application. We've gone through some of our other instructions that we have at the office. And right now, at this board meeting, it'll be later today, we've gone through all the policies that the board has, which initially we had about almost 20 policies, about 16 policies actually. And the board at the last traveling board meeting or the business meeting, the board narrowed that down to about 4 or 5. And so I've been working over this last year to update those policies. And there's a couple that still need to be updated just because we're waiting for some other things to happen. And you'll see that a little bit later. But the board was able to eliminate policies that have been in effect, some of them since like 2003. And they just weren't specific. They didn't have any bearing on what the board was doing these days. And so we're able to eliminate those. And as I'm doing this, I'm building a policy manual. Once we get all these policies taken care of and all of them updated, my vision is to have these policies reviewed by the board every year at the traveling board meeting or the business meeting, and have a hard copy policy manual, and then have a policy manual attached to your board information that you have at the bottom of your board packet there, so the board can have access to that. And I'd also like to post it on our website. We have a policy section, or a document section on our website. So our licensees are aware of what our policies are as well. And it's easily accessible by the governor's office and everybody without anybody having to go look for it necessarily. And we're getting really close to that. After today, we're going to be very close. We'll just have a couple more policies to update. And I think we'll have a good, solid policy manual to start that evolution. So that's some of the things we're trying to accomplish there. As always, which is very important to this board, very important to the governor's office and our licensees, is the things that we do. We're trying to keep we're trying to identify and integrate DEI opportunities within the things that we do. So I put that on our first tab because I want, when we're thinking about these things, I want us to keep that in mind. So one of the things also is strategic communication and outreach, both internal and external. So our board has the benefit of, our board staff, we have the benefit of just having 6 of us. And we're a close team. We meet quite often. We talk quite often. And so we have really, really good communication within our office. We pretty much know what everybody else is dealing with, what they're going through with regards to work and other things. And so our communication internally is really good. One of the things that I want to make better or gooder, like my dad used to say, is I want to increase that communication between board staff and the board. You know, I know you guys are all busy, and I'm not talking about extra meetings or anything like that. What I'm talking about is keeping you guys updated by email or however you would like to be updated about what the office is doing. You know, some of the things that we're doing, or any kind of even major or minor things that are going on within the office, because I think, you know, I think we're a good team all the way around, but I think we can improve in that area. And I think improving our communication between board staff and the board itself will make us even a better or stronger team. So I have some ideas on how to do that, and I will be bringing those forward to the board. You know, that the couple of months between board meetings, I'm thinking about things like giving you guys an email update every month. You know, what's going on with the board, anything that's pertinent that you might need to know about. That way, when you get in these meetings, you're not blindsided about, you know, our board staff has been getting continual phone calls about this topic, and you guys know nothing about it, and I show up here and go, oh, by the way, we're getting all these phone calls, and then there's 10 people here, you know, saying, what are you going to do about this? So I think if you guys are aware of what we're doing, then you'll be better prepared to respond if people have questions of you. The other thing we're doing with communications is we talked about it a little bit yesterday. We started our first Q&A session with the public. I'd like to say our licensees, but really anybody's invited to that. And we did have a public person there. So we did our first one. It ran 1 hour. I had my entire staff available at that meeting. We had some great questions. We had people make some great comments. I think it worked really well. There was, you know, maybe 10 people there. I think as we continue doing these meetings, we'll probably get a better response. We'll probably get more people. You know, like I was trying to make a point, that, you know, the more communication you do, the less people are going to make assumptions, right? Or blow things out of proportion. If they have the ability to say, I can come to this meeting, you know, quarterly, and I can either share what my frustrations are or ask the questions, the burning questions I have on behalf of myself or other people that I've heard on Facebook groups or anything like that, I think it'll definitely be better for us in the long run. So yeah.
I'd like to ask, has Rowena or Christian given any indication and interest in attending a board meeting? I mean, if maybe November we could test it out during, I don't know, lunch or something, an hour or two, how would that impact one day for phone calls for the 6 hours we're there? I know I'm comparing it to where I work, but
There'd be one person answering the phone.
Well, so, you know, we encourage both of them to remote in our meeting.
Oh, good, okay.
And occasionally, if there's a topic that those two, either one of those are interested in,
okay,
they do remote in sometimes. They haven't for a while, but it's always open to them to be able to do that. And so, yeah, that's certainly something I can offer them. I probably couldn't have both of them,
okay.
But we could do one, and you know, or maybe one for a few hours, and then they go back and have another one for a couple hours.
Okay.
You know, I'll reach out to them, and I think it would be great. But like I said, they can remote in from their desk.
Didn't think about that.
And just listen to the meeting, and they have a few times. There's some topics sometimes that you know really deal specifically with CEs or something that Rowena or schools that Christian might be interested in, and they have remoted in. And one of the biggest feedbacks I got from my staff when my evaluation was done was I was, I'm not going to say lacking, but they would have wanted me to be, after the board meeting, communicate better with them about what happened at the board meeting, especially if there's decisions made that impact them directly.
Right.
So Jeff definitely makes it a point after the meeting. He always goes in and talks to both those staff members and tells them, you know, hey, this is what happened. I want to let you know it impacts you. Jeff started doing that after that feedback. He was kind of doing it anyway, but he started doing it a lot more after that. And then I go and follow up and say, hey, any questions about the meeting? I know Jeff talked to you. And so we're trying to increase that communication with them. I think there's some interest there. I think it'd be difficult to implement.
Because this is a personal perspective from where I work, and you all know where I work. There's just a disconnect between the board members, and it's like, why? They're the ones that are on the front lines. They're the ones doing the work. They know the stuff that happens. And if they have questions of us, or if I have questions of them, like when I started, I came into the office like twice, and that was really helpful to see the staff working. And now Christian's, I've met him several times. That was, really nice. But I mean, they are part of the board. They're just the frontline staff that has to deal with the phone calls and stuff. And if you'd be willing to, I like it that they can remote in. I didn't even think about that, but I would never want staff to think that we're not unapproachable. I mean, this is just like, and heck, if I don't know.
I think they're pretty comfortable with it. And another thing that Bob and I do is like my compliance and licensure report. I go to Roe and Christian and say, anything that you think that the board needs to know.
Of course you would.
And so a lot of the stuff that's in there comes from them. And then, of course, when the board yesterday made the decision to change the CPR requirements, I had emailed Roe before you guys, right as you guys said, it passed.
Because let me guess, the phones light up just like they did.
No. She's ecstatic because you just solved a ton of
problems.
Well, yeah.
So she said that's about 25 letters I don't have to send out every cycle. So
yeah,
she is ecstatic. And so I want to give her that feedback right away so that she's excited to go home on the weekend because something good happened for her that's going to change her job on Monday.
Again, my negative experiences are not indicative of this board. This board definitely communicates.
So I think that what we're like, they're always welcome to attend if they ever want to, they can. But it is a meeting, and if they are busy with stuff and it doesn't apply to them, they don't have to attend. But they are able to if they want to.
I was going to say, at some point,
I really do. I think they like it that way. They have the ability to remote in and still do their own thing and not actually be sitting here with things that maybe not.
When they have work piling up and like a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily involve them. But I appreciate that because we don't get any FaceTime with them normally, and like they're so important to the team.
I mean, you haven't even been into the office yet.
Nope.
So I think that should be a priority in November.
Right across the parking lot.
That's right.
Yeah.
We can go over before the meeting starts.
And it's so different from the old place.
Okay.
It is.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
We'll even clean things up for you.
Thanks.
So some of the things the board and board staff have been doing moving forward. So we are going to be doing a survey of our licensees. They sure love getting our emails. Just joking. But we're going to send them a survey asking how they prefer to be communicated with. Do they prefer a letter? Do they prefer online? Do they prefer? And we're writing this up. I have a few questions already written down. The idea behind it is to try to, do they like the borderline? Do they like the format of the borderline? Do they like the name of the borderline? We're trying to get as much information as we can from our licensees so we understand how they want to be communicated with. Because we can certainly, say, well, this is the way that I like to do it. It's certainly easier for our staff. But are we reaching everybody, the maximum amount of people that we can? And so moving forward, we're going to be doing this survey. I'll bring that back to the board to let the board know what the results of that are. And then it'll help us when we're doing these Q&A sessions, when we're having to raise fees or we're having to do something like a change that affects all the licensees. We'll know the best way based on the survey on how to communicate with them. The preferred way, the way they prefer to be communicated with. Of course, it's not going to get everybody. There's going to be, but we're going to go with the majority. So if, 80% say, I like this email idea, 20% don't, you're always going to have people that don't like that. But we're going to go with, reach the maximum amount of people that we possibly can. Moving forward, regarding some other things that we're doing, we're going to, we've already started outreach with some of the trade organizations. I know that Jeff and Mitch attended the AMTA conference on behalf of the board. presented just kind of here's what the board does, here's how the best to communicate with us, things like that. That outreach, I think, was just wonderful. I think, and you can ask Jeff if you'd like, or maybe he has a comment, the feedback that we got about just having board staff at that meeting. We didn't endorse the AMT or anything like that. We're just saying, hey, we're your licensing board. You have a membership. We're telling you what we do, and we're here to serve. And I think we got some great feedback. I don't know if you want to say anything.
We were huge, yeah, overwhelmingly well received.
Yes.
And I mean, we'll go back every year. It was a no-brainer that that's where we need to be.
Yeah, so moving forward, what we're looking at is continuing to attend meetings like that and looking for opportunities where we can continue to communicate with the maximum amount of licensees. And so those will all be addressed as we do those. But I wanted to let you know how we're moving forward with those. We're not stagnant. We're always looking for ideas on how to increase that. So that's basically the first tab, our process review. Any questions about that at all? Any comments or suggestions, things that we might be able to do or
Bob, I have one, going back to the year that we made our strategic plan. Where were we with that historic?
Hood River.
Hood River.
Yeah, Hood River.
One of the feedback things that had come up as part of our DEI plan when we did that was that, unbeknownst to us, like, the hotel was not an accessible hotel.
Mm-hmm.
It was historic charm, but it did have some issues.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, whether we're in Salem or the last two traveling board meetings, it has been much better, both at the hotel and on site. They've been ADA accessible. We've had really good services. I don't feel like there's anybody I wouldn't have to worry that any licensee could attend and would be able to get into and do our meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate that has changed. And because we also had some conversations. I remember we had a deaf person who had asked about like transcript stuff related to how we're doing things. And so some of those things had come up a couple years ago, and I feel like the place where we had an opportunity to make an easy correction, which was like the facilities, was done, and I appreciate that. And I guess now I would like to figure out, I don't know if it's possible, but is there something we can do about transcripting? I know we have some people who miss reading those old transcripts, and we do have some people who have hearing impairments who need the written. I don't know if we can, but I would like to find out as part of our plan moving forward.
Absolutely,
on that. Accessibility part.
So we have
inclusivity.
We have done a little research, and when we post our meetings online, there is the ability. We do the minutes, but there is an ability where we post them at, which is YouTube, for individuals to hit a button and have it, closed caption as well. I use that just because I'm not deaf, but my wife thinks I am, I think. But she I'm a little deaf. So I use them for quite often. But yeah, we're always looking, Kaiti and I are always looking for, opportunities to make everything that we do more accessible and to anybody that may need it, so.
I think that's the little stuff that's happening behind the scenes and I realized I hadn't commented on the fact that the improvement was made. Mm-hmm. It's like those little things, if we don't say it in the meeting or put it in something, nobody knows that we actually did take the feedback and found a solution, because we're not doing a very good job communicating some of our wins. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to make sure we're sharing the things that we are doing to try to be supportive of the successes we are having. So maybe humble bragging. And as the board, we don't always know some of the successes you all are having either until you'll send us a newspaper article. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of work went into that. Yeah. So I feel like some of the strategic plan wins. I think we need to let people know more about those things.
Yeah.
Even if it feels uncomfortable.
I'd like to add that the live version of our meetings is also closed captionable. It's easy. There's just a button at the bottom. So because I'm participating remotely, um, I just wanted you to know that that's the way it is on this end.
Oh, thank you, Carol, because a couple of years ago it was not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a, I
See the
didn't
little
even know
button
that.
down
Thank
there
you.
on the screen.
Yeah, it's right there.
I see it.
There it is. I'm interested in, I want us to be thinking, because I know that now at a future meeting, we're going to be discussing surveying our licensees about how they would best like to communicate with us or receive communication from the board. And I'm thinking about the format of that survey. I presume it'll be online. If it is, we're going to be biased toward people who like that method of communication. Are we really going to, like, how will we communicate with them about how they want us to communicate with them? I mean, do we mail a physical letter to everybody? Will they have a printed and posted copy? Or will it all be online and only theoretically accessible to people who haven't put us in their spam folders? So anyway, we need to be kind of thinking about how best to reach people, about how best to reach them.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you, Carol. I think that, we switched to only online renewals, quite some time ago, which is, it's the industry standard right now. And so everybody's required to have an email address. But I think keeping that in mind, I think it would be, I don't think we'll send out letters to 8,000, 9,000 licensees. But I think the best way to do that would be posting that survey on our website with a caveat that, if you prefer this method, we could accommodate you, something of that nature. I know that doesn't reach everybody because not everybody goes to the website, but I think that's probably the best way to handle that. But I appreciate that input, and I think that's a unique way to think about it. And I'll try to do what I can to accommodate those individuals. Thank you.
I just got a brilliant idea. Why don't we survey people as part of the communication about their license renewal? They're going to be getting that communication by email, and we could insert a link to that questionnaire. We could even require people to complete that questionnaire as a part of their license renewal. That would probably take 2 years to implement. But anyhow,
Well, actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that because I had that brilliant idea also. So I think great minds think alike. Our survey will be attached to communication from the board. So any communication from the board, there'll be a link to that survey, including their license renewals and all that stuff. I'm going to have my staff link it to any of their email addresses. So every time somebody emails the board for anything, they'll get the ability to have that. So that's kind of the standard right now.
I guess that means that we'll have to commit to collecting data for 2 years, right? So that we can get all the way to the end of, because it seems to me that there are some people who are clueless about what the board is doing, except for your license is due for renewal. Those they're paying attention to a little bit more. So we might need to commit to 2 years of data collection in order to really capture all of the people who at least will see that link with their license renewal and might not see it otherwise. So,
yeah, I think it is. I think it is a long-term thing, and I think it's good. As that, I think we'll get a whole bunch, and we'll just continue to survey the data.
I have a question. How we talked about it yesterday. You're going to come back to the board with some templates for how we're going to conduct this, and so you're going to basically come up with a couple ways of collecting timelines and strategies, bring them back, and then we can tweak them. So I think that we do have a lot more robust conversation coming up for that.
Yeah.
Okay, just so we all know. We have a lot on that.
So
That's going to be very exciting.
yeah, I think it'll be great information. I love data, as a executive director, myself and Akaite just absolutely love going through data. So I'm excited about it. Any other questions about this first tab, process reviews? Okay, I'm gonna, we talked about the second tab, which is IT planning. We don't need to really talk about that. This next one, scope of practice. So, this was talked about yesterday as well. I think the board recognizes that the definition of massage, which happens to be the scope of practice in this case, some professions have a scope of practice written out. Our scope or your scope of practice as LMTs is the definition of massage. And it's a little archaic, it's a little outdated. And so yesterday, the board talked about moving or activating the scope of practice committee and start reviewing that, because a scope of practice change or a change of the definition of massage requires legislative action. So our legislators need to make a law or amend our law to change that scope of practice. So this is something the board felt strongly about, so strong enough that it's its own topic. And I think, we're right on track for where we need to be with that. During the process of the scope of practice committee, we talk about, in the strategic plan, we talk about, soliciting input from trade organizations and feedback from different boards, survey our LMTs. Those are all things that are going to happen at committee level with direction from the board. And I think we got a good handle on how the board wants us to approach that. So we will, be facilitating that. There's not much more in here except at the very last line says committees help with the grunt work, which is what you guys have just implemented as of yesterday. So I think, 2 years into a 5-year plan, starting this process, I think we're right on track. The board is right on track where they need to be, especially the timing that we have two legislators, a senator and a representative that are excited about working with the board. They know who we are. They've worked with us before, and they really want to help us, help the LMTs with their profession in Oregon. And so we got to take advantage of that while we have that opportunity. So yeah, any questions about the scope of practice? I think we're right on track with that. There'll be a lot of discussion coming up, after committees start doing work and things start moving. So I think over the next year, this will be a topic you'll see at every board meeting. Mm-hmm. Any other questions about that? And I'm kind of excited to update this one because this one hasn't been necessarily touched. It's been worked on behind the scenes. It takes a while to get those legislators on your side. As a executive director, I just can't go walking through the house and introducing myself and saying, "Hey, I'd like you to help me." You got to have an end, and we were able to get some help this year. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next tab. So I want to clarify something. When we say illicit massage businesses and we talk about human trafficking, I want to be clear that we're not saying, when we give statistics about human trafficking, we're not saying that every facility that is illegal in the state of Oregon is organized crime, is human trafficking, labor trafficking, any of that stuff. We're not saying that. The statistics we give are national statistics, and some from Oregon that just say that there's a proliferation. And in this case, we're not saying that these are human trafficking. We're saying there's a proliferation of illegal massage businesses. And there's some push right now from massage therapists to say we don't like the term illegal massage businesses because they're not doing massage. They're just illegal businesses. But as of now, they're called IMBs. They're also called there's a couple other acronyms because people like acronyms. But I just wanted to clarify that because we talk about when we go to some of these trade organizations and we have some pushback from, some national organizations, some local organizations that say, why are you saying that, all of these are human trafficking? They're not. That's just a madam down there. She's running her own business and things like that. You'll never find a place that we've said that. We're just saying that there are those that happen. And I will say that if we can save one person from human trafficking, we've done a lot. Okay? So to keep that in the back of your mind that some of these places some of these people may be trafficked, and have that sort of approach where we offer services and support and take a victim-centric approach to that. I think that's the way we should be doing it. So I just wanted to clarify that. So
I just want to quick clarify, when you say human trafficking and labor trafficking, I want to clarify for myself, it's all human trafficking, right? And then we're talking about kind of the difference of labor trafficking, sex trafficking. Even though sex is labor in a sense, like
correct. It's its own category.
Yeah. That there might be a brothel with somebody who's running that as opposed, not a trafficking ring necessarily, but it is all labor exploitation. Like through that. Okay.
And there are some, quite frankly, there are some places that it's 3 or 4 women that aren't trafficked. They don't have a handler. They don't have any kind of organized thing. That's just their business model. They work and they make money and so they're not necessarily being trafficked. They're not necessarily human trafficking at all. They're being exploited. They want to be there. That does happen. And then of course there are a lot of them that don't want to be there. And they're kind of forced to be there by lack of options, and that's more along the lines of the human trafficking part, where they hold their passport and things like that. The labor trafficking, they usually don't do any kind of sexual services. It's basically they're having them work and keeping them there, saying, you need to have this B visa to be in the United States, you need to have a sponsor, and if you don't continue to work, I'm going to pull your visa, and you're going to go back to wherever you're from. But I want you to give me all the money, and all you work for is tips.
Yeah, because you owe me $40,000 for bringing you here.
Yeah, and you owe me this amount of money, and so
indentured service.
Yeah, it is. It really is, and that's sort of what they call the labor trafficking portion of it.
So I do want to say on the record, when we look at how the staff has handled this, I very much appreciate that the approach of the board is never to vilify sex work, or like there's never a moralistic element to how it's addressed. It's always about the laws, the actual what's happening in the business, what is happening to protect the massage industry as a profession, and it is not about going after people who are either victims or by choice in something that like it's beyond their scope to make those judgments. And I respect how everybody's been treating it. So I'm very happy with how a couple of years ago when we set this out, how it's being executed. So I have absolutely good feelings about how this part of the strategic plan is going. So I don't know if anybody else who was here when we did that. Carol?
I agree. I think it's important to make the distinction between sex work and wage theft. And using the term wage theft might be really useful in this situation, in terms of helping people understand what trafficking is, aside from the sex work aspect that is that we're encountering.
That's a really good point. Thank you, Carol.
So our AMB approach, one of the things that we've been trying to do is a multidisciplinary approach. Not just doing what we can do ourselves. We've been trying to involve everybody we can from and it's mostly government services, but there are some services that are non-governmental NGOs that provide counseling and assistance and things like that. And what I mean by multidisciplinary, law enforcement, the city administrators, code enforcement officers, us.
Landlords.
What's that?
Landlords.
Yeah, landlord engagement. We've been trying to, be involved at a national level to make a difference nationally as well, because I think some of the national trends obviously affect us. Do you have anything else on the IMBs, what we're doing, what we've been doing that, where we're going forward?
I would just add, it's still whack-a-mole, and I don't see it decreasing in any obvious fashion. It would be interesting to see what the network comes out with next year's estimated proliferation around Oregon and nationwide, and see if anything's trending in a new or different direction. I do think that our best achievement in the whack-a-mole thing has been our engagement with the legislature to be able to try to find some legislative fixes that give us and others some authority to start putting some pressure or closing them down. And so I'm looking forward to the next round of that. Hopefully it's mostly to all our benefit and of course the program itself, but because they got, as you know, Bob, some of the stuff that got taken out of the bill was out in the weeds. It wasn't going to address any of that. So if we can keep it focused, I really think that Representative Tran and that team, along with us and the board, can start putting some things in law that we can really maybe make a difference. The rest of it's just continuing education. We still running into police officers have no idea that it's a crime or that it's even happening in their cities. And then trying to make it a priority for those agencies is a big problem because they have what I guess you just say bigger fish to fry, and they're not going to pour resources into this problem that isn't, in their mind, a priority problem.
Yeah,
that's where we're stumbling right now, is the city saying, we got fentanyl, we got homelessness, we got this and that, and I'm not going to go work the massage sex trafficking stuff.
Yeah. There's a couple things on this strategic plan that I'm very proud of. And, the strategy 3, which is educate public, LMPs, landlords, just basically educate broadly was the topic. And that is something that we have really, really, really been working on. We're doing the landlord engagement. We're going to some of the, cities and engaging with the AMTA, and we're doing a lot of education out there. Jeff has sent out his landlord engagement, model to cities. He sent out his model ordinance, not his, but the model ordinance that he worked on with committee nationally to several cities. And there's a couple that have adopted that model ordinance to try to combat these illicit massage or illicit businesses. And so we've really made an impact there. And that second one is advance OMBT as a provocative leader in this area. I'm going to tell you that we are. We often get referrals from national organizations from other states that when they ask these national organizations, how can we, address this problem, they'll refer them to Oregon. I get phone calls, Jeff gets phone calls from, different states, Oklahoma was the last one I got that said that you were highly recommended as a program that's being successful, at least making a dent in the problem. So we are a national leader. We're looked upon as we're actually accomplishing some of the things that need to be accomplished to try to combat these illicit massage businesses. And I'm very proud of that. And I think we'll continue to be a leader in that, certainly as long as I'm here, and I hope, off into the future. So yeah, it's something that we've really been working on. So, any other questions about the IMB tab?
Kudos to all the staff being leader and all the other states contacting. That's a huge accomplishment. That's great.
Okay, the next tab is leadership development. And this kind of relates to, going back to kind of being a leader nationally. We do have a history of providing leadership around the state on best practices and compliance. What we want to do is the board and the board staff is to continue to cultivate any opportunities to continue to be a leader. I think irregardless, maybe that's not the word, regardless of whether, we feel like we're a leader or not, we are. There's a lot of people who look to us to, leadership. And I think we're stepping up to that. I think we have opportunities to improve that and be better. We definitely support networking opportunities with our schools, with our partners. I talked about that a little earlier. Plan for and recruit new board members. This is something that the way that it's set up right now, our new board member recruitment is handled by the Executive Appointments Office of the Governor. But we do recruit for new board members. In fact, Akaite has had a few people apply. I know all of us have had individuals that we have recommended, and they made application, and a couple of them been on the board. So we're always looking for opportunities to recruit. Some of the recruitment opportunities we did is I attended a meeting with SEBA boards, semi-independent boards, and we got together as a group and did a recruitment flyer, for lack of a better word, a press release sort of, and we submitted that to a couple of different women in leadership organizations, to a couple Asian American Pano and other organizations. So we're trying to always recruit new board members. Unfortunately, we don't get positions that open up all the time. So sometimes when we have a board member recruitment, it'll be a couple of years before that position comes available, especially for public members. And sometimes they lose interest in that 2 years, or their lives have changed a little bit. But I think we're making a big strides in that. So at the bottom of this, we talk about sending board and board staff as guest speakers. We accomplished that with AMTA. We also speak at the national organization, FSMTV. I presented at FSMTV, Jeff has presented at FSMTV to the national audience. As part of this poll, as you can see on the outreach, we can add to the poll, or we did poll the massage schools. Yes, we did, already did that for desired board meeting locations. 1 hour Q&A. And one thing we haven't done, and I'm sort of working on how to do that, is feature some questions by LMT to staff with answers. So maybe adding a question that we receive, or asking for questions from our LMTs that they would like to see answered either on our website or with our borderline or part of our Q&A session. So those are some of the things that we're working on moving forward. I think that things we talked about before are going to apply to this, like doing the polls, communicating, and things like that. So any questions about our leadership, continuing to be a leadership in the, nationally and statewide? I'll go with this last one here. So every one of my staff members knows that I support staff growth. We have a small agency, but anytime there's an opportunity for any of my staff to have training, or even just, go to any kind of outreach with regards to improving themselves, and in fact, opportunities within the state outside of our agency, jobs. I always want to see and have my staff continue to grow, and grow as high as they want to go. So I'm always sending them the training, recommending training to them, and we will continue to do that moving forward. We're going to continue to do that. There's one thing in here I want to talk about a little bit. As we continue to implement these things, and as our compliance grows, and our compliance has exploded from the time that I was the compliance manager years ago, we have a need to have another position available, a customer service position. Of course, we can't do that where we're at funding-wise. But as our situation improves, things get better, I'm going to be talking to the board, and we're gonna have a vision of this, whether it be a part-time, whether it be just a customer service position, like basically a phone answerer. Because if I can have somebody answer the 750,000 phone calls we get a day, then I can free up my staff to be able to, do their job and keep caught up. Right now, we have almost zero overtime, and our staff has done a really great job with, if they're struggling, they communicate with us, and we either put a whole bunch of resources to what they need to do to get caught up, or we just clear their plate and give them the opportunity to get caught up, and we all kind of do pick up the other parts of their job. But that's something that all my staff has told me that they need. I've done a lot of research, and I think that if we had somebody that was just a phone answerer and a filer, basically a customer service rep, it would free up my staff to be able to do a lot. I think we could do a lot more in the compliance section too. Because as it stands, Jeff, Mitch, they both do a lot of things that aren't specific to compliance, which is related to answering phones and handling mild things to very complicated things. That if we had a customer service rep, I think could accomplish those.
As a non-state employee, I have a question about how that would work.
Yeah.
Like I know how things work with Christian.
Yeah.
Would that be a kind of job where somebody could come in and it would be an opportunity to start doing cross-training and then to move up within the department?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Which is what we did with Christian, really.
Right. I wasn't sure if that's like normal, how it works in the state.
Well, it depends
Depends on your agency.
Depends on what agency you work for.
Depends on
what board. It's how this board does it.
Okay.
So I envision this being an LDO, which is a limited duration position starting out. That's a way for us to, and it's harder to hire LDOs, but I think it's the best way for us to do it. Because if we start out with a limited duration position, it shows us if we can afford it. And it has an end date. So if we do a 1 year LDO and we go, man, we just can't afford this. Because I'm all about being frugal. I'm not going to overspend, our licensee's money, the board's money. There's no way I'm going to do that. So if it looks like we're not going to be able to afford it, or it's going to put us in a situation where we're on a negative balance, then we can end that position and say it's not successful at this point. We're going to have to wait down the road and see if our licensees increase to a point where we can afford that. And of course, previous to that, the benefit of being a semi-independent board is that we don't have to get legislative approval to increase staff, just board approval. And so, because we're not funded by the legislative assembly, we don't get general fund money. So it would be board approval. But before we did anything like that, of course, the numbers are going to have to pan out. Right now, they don't. But I see growth going. And so I think in the future, certainly in the future during this strategic plan, there will be something coming forward, a proposal of some sort regarding a limited duration position to test to see if, first of all, it's successful in what we want to accomplish. And second of all, can we afford it? Can the board afford it? So that's coming down the pike, which I think is part of the strategic plan here. So one thing that we haven't talked with Jeff about and is the DEI training for the investigators. And we've kicked it around a little bit. I think I know it's going to be a very simple process to facilitate on my side of it, our side of it, because the governor's office has an Office of Equity and Inclusion, which has many people who would love to provide that training to our investigators. I think the problem is, since they're contractors, getting them together enough that we're not just doing 2 at a time, we can get enough, plus we only have a few investigators right now. So as we're recruiting for investigators and we get that pool built up and we know we have a steady core of investigators, I think that'll be a priority moving forward so we can cross that off the list. Our focus, our strategic plan has a DEI element to it. We, as a board and as a board staff, we are looking at DEI with everything that we do. And I think it only makes sense that we move that onto our contractors as well, because they represent the board. So that's something that will be happening soon, I think, as soon as his recruitment is done. Any
I have a
questions?
question. Yeah, I'm rolling my question back to an additional customer service position and theoretically in the future. And I'm wondering, given the reduction in federal funding that goes, that dumps into, in Oregon, it would be a general fund or various programs in this state. We could be looking at a state government hiring freeze at some point. I'm guessing that wouldn't necessarily affect us in that way because we are an independent board and we're kind of not funded from the general fund. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that is correct. However, I will say that if there is a hiring freeze, there is a chance that it would impact us. I think so. That's a gray area. And what I mean by that is that as a semi-independent board, half of the HR stuff that the state requires applies to us, and half of it does not. So I'd have to look in there and see if that particular section of it applies to us and do a little research. So to answer your question, I don't think it would impact us based on what I know right now. But there is a chance that there might be a section of it that says you can't. If that were the case, we'd have to hire a temp versus a limited duration, so they're non-union. Because I think if it was the freeze and if they were union, then it would apply to them. So that's the answer, the short answer. I'd have to do a little more research, but any of those restrictions, the majority of them are not going to impact our board.
I have another thought about that too. I'm just thinking about, just the economic fallout from reduction in federal funding in general for states. If we had layoffs in state government, would we be required to look at laid off state employees first in a position like this?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. In fact, Jeff and I were talking about this position just recently, and had we been in a position right now to do it, we would more than likely be getting told by the governor's office that somebody from ODOT, the highway department, would be taking that position. They have the authority. The governor's office has the authority, even though we're semi-independent, to say if you're hiring, you have to do the layoff recall list. So we would probably be given somebody, not even having to have a recruitment. HR would probably just say this person fits the requirements.
Or these
they're the most
people.
senior, they're going to go in that position. So yes, it would definitely impact that. Thank you for bringing that up, Carol. That's a good point.
In a former life, I was an HR professional in a public agency.
Gotcha. Any other questions about any of the strategic plan? And I know that's a brief. I mean, there's a lot of topics here, and I encourage the board. Our strategic plan, it's a living, breathing plan. It's something I'm always looking at, and if there's opportunities you see for us to improve, or you think the board can improve or meet some of these goals, I encourage you to send me an email and say, hey, I was thinking about this. What do you think? Because I'm always looking for ideas.
Bob, just could you remind me, when is our next strategic plan? Like what year's business meeting does that happen?
So 28, this one expires, so we'll be doing it 27.
27.
Yeah.
Okay.
A couple years from now.
So I'm not going to be able to see this through.
Any other questions at all? All right. So part of reviewing the board action plan is, critical next steps. I think I kind of went over some of the things that we're doing there. Regarding signing owners and due dates, I put that on there in case the board had something that said, that you guys came up with, that said, hey, I want you the board wants you to focus on this topic and we'd like to have it done in the next 6 months. Sometimes boards do that, so I wanted to give that opportunity. If there was something in there that you think I'm missing or you think needs to come to the top, I want to give that opportunity to the board for you to give me some direction if you think that's necessary.
Personally, I think we need to have an absolute commitment to, say, 2 more of those Q&A video chats, like in the next 6 months, or whatever we think is a reasonable goal. But I think they were successful, and I think like that needs to absolutely happen with our licensees. Especially since we do have a lot of stuff coming up. So for me, as far as assigning owners and due dates, I would like to see, like by the next meeting, I'd like to see at least like 2 more on the schedule.
Okay.
From schedule.
Yeah, not to have them before the next meeting. I'd like to see the next 2 scheduled out.
Perfect.
Or at least some dates presented to us that we can know that that's coming up.
Okay.
Director Ruler?
Yeah.
Along those lines about the growth and the staff growth and stuff, the board's going to have to replace me in 15 months. So.
Yep. So let me talk about that. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. So right now I'm reviewing position descriptions, and so I'm going to work with Jeff the end of this year, and I know that only gives us a year, but I think that's sufficient enough time. At the end of this year, the beginning of the new year, that gets me through my audits, that gets me through the SEBA report, and the things that are really, really taking my time right now. Beginning of the year, January, Jeff and I, Mitch, the staff, we're going to sit down. I'm going to review Jeff's position description, actually all of our staff's position description, because I want to make sure that everybody's job that they're doing is aligned with what their position description is.
Right.
And if the changes need to happen, then we're going to make those changes. The second part of that is I want to talk to Jeff about is his position successful? And what I mean by that is when I hire somebody else, do I want to continue having a compliance and licensing manager, or do I want to make that position a compliance person and then elevate one of our other positions into a deputy director position or something like that, or at least a second supervisor, and that way 2 individuals can focus solely on compliance because of our compliance going through the roof and continuing growth. And that way, that position that Jeff is in is not divided between 2 different branches. So I'm looking at all those things. I have copious amounts of notes on that. I've talked to some staff about it. And when it comes up in January, Jeff and I are going to be looking at that and start presenting that information to the board and having the board decide if there are changes, having the board approve those requested changes. And then we can do a hiring process from there regarding filling Jeff's position. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's one thing that I wanted to talk about, but amongst all the other stuff, it slipped my mind. So any questions about that at all? Excellent. So I've got on my list here that we would like to see a couple more Q&A sessions at least scheduled by our next board meeting. And I agree with you. That's certainly something that that we need to do, and I think it'll be great. Anything else any board members would like me to focus on?
Once they are scheduled, they'll be posted on the website?
Yeah, we'll do both an email blast and we'll post it on the website.
Okay.
To make sure everybody's aware of it. And probably, not probably, I will reach out to the board members with an email specifically and tell you what's going on with that. So it goes along the lines of me wanting to give you guys updates every month. So.
Is there going to be one between now and the first of the year? I know you're busy with budget and stuff.
Yeah, I suspect there will be, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know the holidays are busy for everyone, but I don't know how that works.
Yeah, it's just an hour, and it was really, really successful. So, I mean, and it was pleasant, even though we had, an individual there that needed a vent. I think at the end of it, that person's kind of friendly now. So I think some people like to have a public forum instead of just talking one-on-one, and I'm okay with that.
I can't remember, was it a good time?
Yeah.
For massage therapists? Date that, I know
See, that's what we're
yeah.
trying to determine with our survey, what's a good time, and so,
Which means the next one should be different than the first one, right?
yeah, we're gonna do some different dates and times, and that way we can get an idea. But I think this survey that we're gonna be doing is gonna give us a little better idea.
And I also would like us, if we had the opportunity to take turns to be on with you, so the licensees can get to know the board, on one of us would be.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it'd be better to keep it to one board member. Board member English attended the first Q&A session, and yeah, I think he got some good benefit out of it. So yeah, I think it's a great idea. I mean, you can get up to 3 members there if you guys would like. What I hesitate to do is I hesitate to have a bunch of board members there because I want them to ask our staff the tough questions about things that are bugging them about what's going on in our office. Also, I want them to talk about the board stuff if they have a question about the board, but 99.9% of our questions are, why are you doing this on our application? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? What is this? What's going on? How come you don't mail my hard copy license anymore? And things like that, which I guess is good for board members to answer to. I'm just trying to alleviate that. So, but yeah, I think it's great. Any board members that want to attend up to 3, I certainly encourage you to do that. And I'll make sure that you have that opportunity to know when that's going to happen with plenty of advance notice so you can do that.
Well, the reason why I'm saying that, and what I always said when I came on the board,
Melissa, you're cutting out again. I'm sorry. Can you say that again? Closer to the mic.
Most massage therapists, I think, think of the board as kind of like landlords. No contact is good contact. And then anytime the board wants to say anything, it's kind of like, oh, they're going to increase my rent. They're going to do this and this to me. So I think it's like good that they see our faces, that we are a person to them. That's why I said having different board members so they have relatability, that we're people and not these people that just come and make rules on what they want to do.
That is a great idea. Yeah, I agree with you. That's a good point, a good perspective, and I think absolutely, I think it would be beneficial to have board members, especially for that. Yeah, kind of demystifying board members. They're not this omnipotent being that I can't talk to. They're here to help and they're here to do what they can to make it better for licensees. So I think that's a great idea, Melissa. Thank you.
What kind of public commitment have we made about the frequency of these meetings? And just before anybody answers that, because I think we haven't really been specific about that, I think that we should be holding these meetings at least quarterly, and I think that that Beckett, I totally agree with you that we should get them scheduled, just get them out there so that people have an opportunity to think ahead about attending these things, given that it's an hour commitment for staff and board members but also for licensees who attend. An hour is not that big of a deal, but if people have some warning, they can probably tune in pretty much any time, as long, if we have a year's worth of these meetings pushed out into the future.
I 100% agree. And yeah, the answer is that we haven't. I envision quarterly as well. I think that's what I've been talking to my staff about, doing these quarterly. And I think that's kind of that's that kind of the sweet spot right now. It may go on, to be monthly. I mean, if we get a nice turnout and a lot of questions. Yeah, and we'll definitely work on getting those scheduled out. Absolutely. And getting the word out too. I mean, if we let AMTA know, if we let ABMP, if we let all the national
let
organizations
schools.
know, let the schools know so they can post things.
Yeah.
And get the word out to as many people as we can to say, here's upcoming meetings, please attend. We'd love to have you. So, anything else that you'd like me to focus on specifically? All right. We're right on time for that.
Okay, I think this would be a good time for a break.
Yeah.
Can we do 15? Sound good? We have another bathroom today, so we could do a little shorter. Can we do 15?
I move to take a 15-minute break.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Come back in 15. Thank you.
This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, Melissa, are you seeing the meeting people on your screen? Because I'm not seeing anybody back in the meeting yet.
I don't think their camera, here they are.
Okay, got it. I'll turn my mic off now.
Yeah, so actually we're going back to the legislative update is what I have. No. That hopped in from yesterday's copy and paste, I'm
Yep.
sorry. We are at the FSMTD.
Absolutely. Let me get that pulled up here.
I just got 2 things taken off my list. We're even farther ahead of schedule.
Okay, so FSMTB is having their annual meeting October 4th, well, it's actually 5th, 6th, 7th, something like that. Yeah. I'm going to be there at a little different time, but I'll be there for the meeting as an FSMTB board member. There's this particular meeting is their 20-year anniversary. There's a little side note to that. The original charter of FSMTB was established by 5 individuals from around the country, around the United States. One of the founding members of FSMTB was a board member from Oregon. So we have a rich history with FSMTB. FSMTB is your trade organization as board members. And during this particular meeting, the annual meeting is when they do elections for new board members. And I tried to send you guys some information by email because I couldn't add it to the packet because there was links in there and I wanted you to be able to get these links. And there are some people that are up for election. So what I like to do previous to this, and I did it last year and I think we need to do it moving forward, is since this is your trade organization and board members for the board itself, that our delegates should have some direction from the board about who they would like to see voted in as a board member for FSMTV. Previous to that, our delegate was just given instructions on, go attend the meeting. Now, there was some direction regarding bylaw amendments and things like that to our delegate, but the elections themselves were left up to the delegate to make that decision, which is one way of doing it. But most of the boards, I talked to a lot of the boards that are part of that organization, and they usually have their board members decide for them, give them direction on who they would like them to vote for. So I sent you a link with the candidates, and your delegate for this particular board meeting, or this particular FSMTV board meeting, is Doug. And so, he is looking for direction on who you would like him to vote for. And if you'd like me to go through this, I will. Or let me go through the candidates and the information here. I don't know. So there's a couple of things. There's no bylaw amendments or resolutions right now that are up for the board to vote on. They have up until basically the day before the meeting. So there could be some amendments that happen, basically the day of the meeting. That, of course, Doug's not going to be able to get input from the board at that point. So he's just going to have to, make that determination what he thinks is best for the board. I will be there, so I'll be able to direct him a little bit if he has questions. He may know without having to ask me any questions about, the pulse of what the board might want. So.
Are you wanting us to give our opinions?
Yeah, hold on one second. Let me get this pulled up and then.
And I'll just explain too, from doing it last year, when candidates are voted for, they'll sometimes bump into other categories, like they'll come up a second time. So, like what you'll do when you go is you'll vote according to what we had, and it worked really well. And then you'll just take the record of it, and when you come back at our November meeting, you'll just let us know how the elections turned out.
Yep.
And that's really, easy peasy.
So there's 3 board member positions that are available, and what happens is they throw them all into the first position, which is a 3-year term. There are 4 candidates. Whoever wins that position, they move the other 3 candidates to the second one. Whoever wins that position, they move the last 2 candidates to the third one. And so it makes it difficult, obviously, for Doug to kind of make that determination. So what I would recommend that you do is maybe give him a 1, 2, 3, 4.
I was going to say we just need to do like a ranked choice.
And that way he will be able to make those decisions all the way through. When it comes to the nominating committee is when people apply for a board member position. They look at the applicants, make sure they meet the qualifications, and they move those applicants forward for the membership to vote on. So the nominating committee candidates are listed here as well. And that's pretty much all I have, with the exception of asking the board on behalf of Doug, provide Doug some direction on who you think should be the number 1 candidate. If you have any questions for me, since I know all of these candidates, I'll certainly answer your questions. Other than that,
it's a great group of candidates.
All of them, they're a great group of candidates. Yep.
I guess I would like to know if there's any recommendations from the staff you have of working with the boards based on the way the state boards work, the way the laws in the states are. Is there anything we should know?
The only thing I would throw out on that I think there's just one here, and that's down related to the nominating committee.
Mm-hmm.
The 4 candidates for the board positions, I know all of them as well. They were all fantastic. I have my preferences because I've happened to work on some subcommittees and stuff with some of them, but that's but I'll let their resumes and their videos and stuff stand on their own for the board. But California has a different process than everybody else. And California has, because of the way that they're organized as a non-profit, for-profit kind of government agency, licensed, not licensed. I mean, they have so many different idiosyncrasies. They also have, in my opinion, they also have an agenda for FSMTB. So I would be leery of putting too much California into any leadership positions, but that's just my personal opinion.
I will say I felt that after listening to a lot of public comment during that last FSMTB and our meet and greet type things, but based what they brought to the floor and said publicly, think what Jeff said felt
I mean, it has nothing to do with the
accurate.
individuals.
No.
They're wonderful, but they have a different agenda. I mean, and of course they do. They're organized differently than we are, and they have their own motivators that are different than a full government regulatory agency has, and so it just creates confusion in some degrees, even in common conversations at the FSMTB meeting. Sometimes they throw a wrench into things because they're doing things differently, or it doesn't apply to them, or they're doing something that's neat and cool, yet none of us can do it because they have their own niche that allows them to do things like that. So they need to be there. I'm not arguing they don't need to be there, but it's the orange in the stack of lemons, and it's just odd. That would be my only two bits.
So how do we want to do this? We're doing the candidates for the position 3, 2-term first.
Yeah, what I would do is, what I'd like you to do is just rate them as you want them to vote 1 through 4. So, your top candidate being this person, the second candidate being this person. That way, whoever moves to the second one, he can say, okay, my number 2 was this person. So,
I've got 1 and 2 for me in mind, but the 3 and the 4, so.
Why don't we all take just a couple of minutes and sort of do our ranking, and we'll see where we come out. So everybody just take a couple minutes, do that for yourself for both categories, and then we'll come back and talk it out.
I actually typed.
Got it.
And by the way, Bob, I really appreciated that they had 3 different ways when reviewing all of, it's like, that's good, because you can read stuff and then you look at the resume and then, Bob. And specifically text.
Text, okay.
The nominating committee is once again very southern region oriented.
Yeah.
We need some more time. Okay.
I just moved to her. I just.
Did we sit next to Bode?
Yes.
We were in DC. Okay.
Yeah.
We met him a lot.
Thank you.
He's a Harvard fan.
Didn't he do the, he ran the meeting last year? Didn't he?
No. Bode was, he's the board member I replaced. He is, he's on the nominating committee now. I'm trying to think. He has a very thick accent.
Yeah, I definitely remember talking to him.
Yeah, he might have done some yeah, he did a presentation. I think he did nominating committee presentation.
Okay, that might have been.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, we endorsed him for the nominating committee last time.
Yeah.
Okay, are we good or do we need some more time?
Hello, I'm Dan Shaw.
Good? Maria, are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, how about Melissa and Carol? Good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Melissa's talking, but she's muted.
I got a thumbs up. Melissa, you can unmute your. There we
Okay,
go.
I'm trying to find now where my camera is. I don't know, the screen. Just go on, it's fine.
We can see you fine, just so you know.
Great.
Okay, I think let's do this with, why don't we just go candidate by candidate, see how many people would, let's see. Okay. Yeah, we're just gonna see how many people would, vote for them, count them up, and then we can rank based on that.
And we're picking 4 out of everyone,
We're
correct?
picking, so if we, let's see, if we say, Paul, and only 2 of us vote, Paul will get 2, and then we can rank them based on that. Does that seem?
Okay, so are you going for our first choice or our last choice?
And are you breaking it down by position?
Well, they're all going up for the same position, and then they'll be ranked down. So
So if he calls out a name, or they call out a name, Paul Andrews, who has Paul Andrews as their number 1 candidate, and then Nicole Davis, who's another, what number is that? And then that gives an idea if we have a consensus.
Who's keeping track?
I will.
I have another question.
Mhm.
Sorry. So at the top, under position 1, it lists 4 people. And then below, where it says nominating committee, it lists 4 people. So are we looking at all 8?
Well,
and then picking our top?
No,
4 and 4.
Okay.
4 and 4. Yeah, rank 4 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Where your rank is at.
Right, so whoever we vote for our first, remember, like they get bumped down. So I think this will work. Is it making sense to you, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if you call the name and see if there's a consensus, then that person, if the majority of if your majority of your board members said that's the person that they want, then I think that's the person that should move forward.
Right.
I don't know if you're going to get a consensus from everybody, but
You should be able to rank them, though, I think.
yeah.
Okay, let's start with Paul. Okay.
First person votes.
For first person, let's go to Sharon for first person.
I vote for Sharon.
3.
Hold on, kind. I wanted to vote for Paul.
You voted for Paul for your first person?
Yeah.
Okay. Sharon, we got 3. Nicole? John? 2. Okay, so that would put our top at Sharon. So then how it would work is that John, Nicole, and Paul will move down to the next spot.
So now who we want for second position?
Correct.
Okay.
Or you just take the numbers
Or
that
you
you
take the
got
numbers
from the
that you
first
did
there.
and rank them that way.
Who got the next amount?
Yeah.
Well, that's if
Two.
everybody else actually went through.
Well, how he's actually going to vote will be like if we
Yeah.
redo it. So let's actually redo it.
That'll work.
Who we would pick for number 2? Let's see. So let's go with who would take John as their number 2.
Three.
Okay. Nicole? 1. And Paul.
Paul for number 2.
Give me 1 second. Okay, so we've got Sharon as our number 1.
John is our number 2 position.
John is our number 2.
Paul could be 3.
So for our number 3 position, how many vote for Nicole?
This is the 3rd position, right?
Okay, 1 for Nicole. And how many vote for
The red.
John?
No, Paul.
I'm sorry.
Paul.
Paul, how many vote for Paul? 1, 2,
And Paul.
3, 4.
You haven't voted.
Correct.
How many was that?
So that gives us Sharon, John, and then Paul would be our votes.
Easy enough.
Can't go wrong with that group. It's a good group.
Okay, so as our delegate, you have that
I got
locked in?
Yeah.
Perfect. Now you'll be a voting pro.
It's so much fun, Doug. It looks like the old high school, what was that group that they played where all the nations came?
The United Nations,
the
like,
United Nations, mock United Nations
Yeah,
or something
yep.
like that. You got your little Oregon flag at your.
Yeah, there's a flag.
and you push a button and your state comes up.
It's pretty cool.
It's fancy.
Pretty cool.
Okay, then we've got 4 candidates, and how many spots do we have?
4.
So, do we need, at this point, do we need to rank them?
There's 3 spots, isn't there? Oh, no, wait.
There's 4 people.
3 members who serve a 1-year term.
Brown, John, 2 candidates.
I'm just saying, do they have 3 of them or 4 of them?
Oh, it's 3 members.
There's 3
So
members for 1-year term.
Okay,
And 4 candidates.
4 candidates. Okay, perfect. So we'll do the same process again.
She's awesome.
Okay, who would vote for David as their number 1?
David.
David.
David?
I'm looking at this year's committee. Sorry,
Yeah.
scrolling here.
Say Davis?
I misspoke. I looked at the wrong list.
Consider her a friend, she's awesome. Don't move you.
Fode is how you say his name?
Yep.
Fode as their number 1?
Yes for vote.
4. Okay. Charlene? 1.
This is for the 2nd position, right?
This would be your position 1.
Oh, sorry.
Position 1, 2 for
Ahead of
Charlene.
myself.
You can't vote. 1.
See if you're paying attention.
Hands up again for Charlene, please. 1. Okay. Amos? And Jan. Okay, so it's going to be Fode as our number 1. Our number 2, hands up for Charlene as your number 2. 1, 2. Amos is your number 2.
Amos, number 2.
And Jan is your number 2. 2 for Jan. Oh. Okay, we have a tie.
Between Charlene and Jan?
So does Carol get to
Carol gets
to decide the vote
Yeah.
since Amos got knocked out? Charlie and Dan.
Yep.
What's the tie? Because I'm kind of behind over here.
No. Let Carol decide the vote.
I voted for Amos for number 2.
Yes, but we ended up with a tie, Carol, so, and Amos isn't in the tie, so out of the other two, which would you prefer?
I would prefer Charlene.
Okay.
Perfect.
So Charlene will be our number 2. And just for consistency, we need to vote for our number 3. Everybody who wants Jan as their number 3. Thank you. Everybody who would like Amos as their number 3.
Amos 3.
Okay, so it's going to be Jan. Okay, so we've got Charlene, Fode, Charlene, and Jan.
I thought we did Amos. On that.
No.
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 2 to 3.
Fode number 1, Charlene number 2, Jan number 3.
Yes, okay.
Amos number 4.
You don't know.
There is no number 4.
Oh, that's right, because there's only 3 positions.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
Got it. Okay. We have no bylaws or resolutions. Okay. You can come on in.
Yeah, we won't kick you out.
You want me to go to the next one?
Yes, Bob. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, let's go. So last business meeting, I presented the board with, I've talked about this a little bit, but I'll just give you another briefing on it. I talked to the board about revamping our policies, and my vision is that I'm building a new board member packet, and part of that is going to be a policy manual. We had a lot of policies that were archaic and didn't apply anymore and had stuff in there that really didn't need to be in there. So the board narrowed those policies down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 policies from the 16 that we had. What I ended up doing, so in the interim after the board narrowed it down, there were a few that the board asked me to revamp, update. And so I did that. And I noticed that most of the policies were not on a consistent letterhead or anything like that. So what I ended up doing was building these new policies on a new letterhead and labeling the policies, in this instance, 1 through 6. So we have a consistent numbering system, and I also set it up that our policies can be, there's a section on there for our policies to be reviewed by the board every year. And I envision that to happen at our board, business board meeting every year, where these policies can be reviewed by the board, and any updates or changes the board might want to do, they can provide direction to me to do that. And I'm gonna actually go through these policies a little bit briefly. So the very first policy is something that is an exemption from release of licensing information upon public request. This policy we came to enact this policy because we had an instance of a licensee with some domestic violence in her past, and she had asked if we had a policy with regards to shielding her identity. And we did not, so we came up with this policy in conjunction with working with DOJ, and it's mostly a reference to a statute that allows us to do that. And so that's a policy that we use. I didn't really have to update it, except I put that it's reviewed at this meeting. I listed as policy number 1. And you guys have any questions or concerns about policy number 1? So the next 2 policies are policies that I was directed by the governor's office to write. The governor, as part of her mandate to executive directors, The customer service or customer standards policy, which is a requirement of the governor that each agency in the state of Oregon have a customer standards policy. It's fairly boilerplate across the board for every agency. It's a policy that references a policy, which is kind of a weird one. But it was important to the governor, and so I'm doing it. It's customer standards policy, and basically it talks about what's expected of our staff and what's expected of this agency. It talks about having inclusive customer access, a professional workplace, and things like that. So any questions about the customer service policy or why it's implemented? Because you didn't review this last time. This got implemented between the last board meeting and this board meeting. Although you did review it and approve it, it's different. So don't have any questions. I'll go on to the next one.
Governor mandated.
With what's going on federally, the governor mandated that each agency provide immigration training to our staff. We were required to complete a class on Oregon being a sanctuary state, what our requirements are as a public entity, how we respond to questions by the federal government or any agency for that matter. And at the end of that, the governor decided that each agency needed to have an immigration policy, which outlines, it's like, again, a fairly boilerplate across the board, and it tells staff and board members what our requirements are per Oregon law, when we can release information and when we cannot release information. Any question on that policy? This is a policy the board decided to keep also from the last board meeting. The next one, policy number 4, it is our recusal policy. And, it's just a reminder to board members and a reference of what the authority is or the statutes. If the board needs to refresh their memory on when to recuse yourself from any cases that you may be involved in. It's a quick policy, but I think it's a good reminder. Yeah, I've been talking for 2 days. It's a good reminder. Any questions about that one? Policy number 5 is our travel policy. So this was built several years ago. I haven't necessarily updated this policy. This is something that I am going to update between this meeting and the next business meeting. It needs to be tweaked a little bit. It's good and stands by itself, and the board approved it last meeting as standing by itself, but it does need a little bit of tweak to it to bring it up to date. Any concerns or questions about this one? And this banking policy is for me. So when I get audited, the auditor asks me if we have a policy regarding how we handle cash, how we handle money. And so this banking policy is how we handle basically the authority of us, where we need to deposit money, the accounts, how we handle the accounts and things like that. So once again, it is a policy that references a statute, but it's a statutory requirement for a CEBA board to have it. So it is a little bit of redundancy, but I imagine that the state government has a little redundancy. So, any questions about that one? Now I want to talk about the ones that are still in review. I'll start with the middle one, the topical use and topical product use policy. So this policy came about with medical marijuana. When marijuana became legal, actually when it was medical marijuana, there was some questions from licensees about how to deal with that. So we built this policy. And then it became legal, and there was a whole bunch of licensees saying, can I use it now in my practice? And so the board decided there needed to be some clarification. It's interesting that Oregon was one of the well, I think it was the first board, according to FSMTV, that actually addressed this issue in policy and sort of tackled it head on. Everybody else was kind of waiting to see what everybody else did. So we were again leader in this aspect. The reason it's not done and it's still in review, and I'll have it at the next board meeting, is I'm waiting for some DOJ approval, since it is has some legal implications to it. I've sent it to our DOJ attorney, who in turn sent it to up the chain, which happens quite often. So I'm waiting for that to come back down. It didn't make it back down in time for this particular meeting. So we did do some updates to it, and that one will be at the next meeting. Any questions about it's not in here, but any questions about why we're doing that? Okay. The bottom policy, the mandatory licensure review and appearance policy, that policy is complete. However, I did not bring it here because it deals with, I got to give you just a little history on this one so I can put it in perspective for you. The board used to make licensees that had criminal issues or any kind of issue appear before the board to testify before the board about what their situation is. So if we had a renewal applicant, it was always an applicant, either a renewal or an applicant, initial applicant, had a drug past or had something going on, the board would tell them to appear before the board. I would do an investigation, give them all the documents. The board would interview the individual and then tell the individual, we'll get in touch with you, or sometimes say yay or nay right there at the meeting. I asked the board to do away with that. We ended up getting more and more applicants. It made our board meetings last till 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. People didn't show up. Sometimes they would show up and they would want to talk for 45 minutes, an hour and a half. It was a difficult thing for us to deal with. And it wasn't necessary. The board still has the authority to make somebody appear or ask somebody to appear. But we built this policy, and the idea behind this policy, it gives some direction to our staff, our compliance staff, and it says if a person has a misdemeanor criminal offense that occurred less than or within more than 5 years ago, then they're okay to go ahead and license them. They set some parameters. I rebuilt that. Jeff and I are going to continue to work on this. The reason I didn't bring it here is because I had asked the board about adding facility permits into that. And whatever happens with that facility permit, I think also needs to translate to this particular policy. So I'm waiting to see what happens with the facility permit so we can add that in there and do it all at one time. The policy still stands as it is. It's a good policy. We still use it. So it doesn't need to be tweaked right now, but it's still in review because we want to wait and add that facility permit part to it. Any questions about that one? And I'll talk about this communicable disease guidelines policy. So this is a difficult one. It's been a little difficult one. There's many reasons why, but it seems straightforward, that you could have some, you shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that, wear protective layers, whatever. What's making it difficult is that right now there are some really conflicting guidelines. Anytime we do a policy like this, we want to make sure that we reference, CDC or some other agency that has some guidelines. And right now, there is some real inconsistency in the federal government about how they're directing people. They're not consistent with what the states are saying. So I hate to reference the CDC as they're continually taking things off of their guidelines, and then it be contrary to what Oregon says that we should be doing. So we're trying to reconcile that with the Oregon Health Department, what other health professionals are doing and what the federal government is doing. So that's going to require a little more time for us to get that drilled down. Any questions about that? I left it for last because I thought there might be, but it's been a little difficult. There's a little, well, as you know, there's some tumultuousness going on in government all over the nation, and whether it be local, state, or federal, and it kind of translates into trying to build things like this.
So we could wait a little while
Yeah,
and work on this.
absolutely. The policy stands.
Okay.
It's decent guidelines, but there's some things that need to be updated.
Okay.
And so I'm just trying to make sure we have the most current, best information to put out there, best practice information to put out.
Yeah, it's not harmful. It's just sort of insufficient.
Yeah.
It's fluid right now.
Yeah, and it just needs some tweaking, but it's not harmful.
Yeah, and if we put a lot of effort into it, and then it changes by the next meeting too.
And it is changing often. So I'm trying to get them a little settled, and then we can make some reference in there to, and like I said, the policy stands well, and the policy is not harmful, and the policy is going to do what it's intended to do.
Yeah.
It's just not best practice right now. Well, it is best practice right now. It's just not what everybody's doing and what, so.
Or we wanted to.
Yeah, well, yeah, it needs to be reviewed is the best way to put it, so. No questions on that one? Okay. So I'd like you all to approve those policies that are here, policy 1 through 6. Policy number 1 through 6. If you approve those, then I'm done with those, and they won't be looked at again until next year.
Motion to move policies 1 through 6 that we just reviewed.
Scott, second.
Thank you.
All in favor of approving policies 1 through 6 as presented?
Aye.
Right.
Opposed? Motion carries. Policies are approved. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Then we are on to new business. Do any board members have proposals for new business that they would like to bring forth to go into our next meeting? I think at this point we do have quite a bit of stuff coming in our next meeting between OMBT coming back, some policy stuff.
Yeah.
We should have a pretty packed, and I think we're gonna have a lot of stuff in the next couple months that's coming up.
Yep.
So.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah.
Tons.
Okay, so nobody's got anything for new business, okay? Then let's see the meeting work item review.
Okay.
Yep.
Let me, I know for a fact, all those committees, I'm not gonna add that because they're not a work item review, they're going to committee. We have a lot of things on here, but the one thing that you wanted me to do and bring back to the board are some dates for those Q&A sessions. That's what I have on my to-do list. I don't think the committee assignments and committee things need to be that because that's part of the agenda and stuff. So, but actual work item review for somebody at the board staff to bring back to you, that's what I have.
Do we need to do anything with the survey?
With the what?
The survey to bring back.
Oh, the survey too, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we need to bring back some survey, a sample survey to, yeah, there's 3. There's actually, the second one is we need to bring back the placard policy. Because you chose a policy, so. And then 3 is the Q&A dates. At least 2 in the next 6 minutes. So.
Demographics?
Was that the geographic demographic?
Yep. I think that's it. Let me read them up. So the board would like me to bring back the sample survey with some of the questions so we can formulate that. The placard policy, we're also going to probably print a couple sample placards for you guys to choose exactly which one you want. You wanted at least to have 2 Q&A dates within the next 6 months, but I think what I'm going to do is plan out a year of Q&A sessions.
Nice.
And then a demographic data about our licensees.
Question, when we do the placard stuff, and I know this question's gonna come up because we've all been here, the cost for each different type or whatever?
Yeah.
Will that, okay.
Yeah, we'll do it all. We'll get that whole thing for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. When I say cost and type of stuff, so. Demographic, geographic survey is the last one. So.
Okay. Thank you. Then there's nothing else on that. At this point, we will move to public comment. It looks like we had a few people come in. Akaite, are they still there?
We do still have Don Schiff, and one of them left.
Okay.
Don raised his hand.
Don's ready.
Okay. Don, could you turn on your camera? Unless he's calling. Okay. Give me 1 second here. I have to read our public comments in. Public comment is limited to matters on the public meeting agenda or otherwise relevant to matters that may come before this agency. Comments will not be allowed that are longer than 2 minutes as allotted by the chair or disruptive to the agency's conduct of business. Any member of the public who would like to address the board, please turn your camera on at this time. When called upon, state your name and license number for the record. Hey, Don, looks like you're the only one here. What can I do for you today?
All right. Don Schiff, LMT number 23463. I am the AMTA Oregon Government Relations Chair. And I wanted to give you an update about the Gresham ordinance. They have passed an ordinance for business licensing for massage businesses. Started off with, they had some just really off the wall provisions. We were able to meet with them and get them to take most of them out. And I think it's a pretty good ordinance. It's not unduly restrictive. And, you know, it does have the potential for helping with the IMB problem. There's an issue, though, that we have with it. The definition they use for massage business is the same definition that is used in our licensing act for who needs a facility permit, including exempting exempting healthcare licensees from that definition. It's a good definition. It's the perfect definition from our standpoint, because it means that LMTs who own massage businesses won't have to jump through these extra hoops. The problem is that Gresham intends to make LMTs get these special massage business licensing permits, despite the fact that the clear language of that act exempts us. You know, if we're not in the definition of what's a massage business, then they can't then put restrictions on us. And so I've been involved with writing legislation and board rules and so on and so forth for a long time, and it just, I'm totally gobsmacked. And you know, they just adopted this, and I believe they intend to implement it on in October. And I don't know that it's that the massage board, that OBMT actually wants to do anything with this. I would love to have the board's assistant attorney general at least look at this, because essentially they give us lip service as healthcare providers and then take away our rights and privileges. And so, national people are looking at it, but I want to make you aware of it. This is Gresham Ordinance 9.11, I believe. So, if anyone has any questions about this would be a good time for me to answer them. Otherwise, I've just given you the update. That's why I stay here to comment. And also, thank you for all the work that you're doing. I've been here through the meeting this morning, and I'm really, really pleased and happy. And thank you for that listening session. It was very useful.
Thank you very much, Don.
Thanks, Tom.
Does anybody have any follow-up questions they'd like to ask Don?
Don, I'm going to look into that. I'll look into that ordinance. I know I've been kind of following a little bit, but I kind of got behind in keeping up with what was going on. But I'll take a look at that, and I'll reach out to our attorney and see if there's anything we can do as a state agency to, legally, if there's anything we can do, and then I can report back to the board. And give the board, let them know what their authority is regarding what they can do. But I'll find out. I got to reach out to the governor's office and things like that. But I'll start working on that a little bit, because I don't want that. If it's truly something that's going to be negative for LMTs, I don't want that to catch traction.
Yeah.
So
I'm guessing, Don, that there's a fee associated with this. Do we know what that proposed fee will be?
Yeah, it's consistent with the regular business licensing fees. It's not excessive. That's not a problem. The only problem, look, I would have done things a little differently. It's not my job to do that for them. But they did take a lot of our suggestions, including some of my language suggestions, and but the only thing that I can see that is a problem is that it seems to me they're usurping. They're putting requirements on LMTs that are not and their businesses that are on no other healthcare practitioner. That's a problem. And so, Bob, I really appreciate what you've been doing. I know I tried to reach out to you earlier this week, but you were busy preparing for this meeting. I completely understand, and I appreciate your taking a look at it and finding out.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Don. I appreciate that the update on that.
Looks like Carol has.
I have another question. I want to make sure I understand. So a massage, as this is proposed, a massage therapist practicing in the city of Gresham would have to, of course, have a massage therapy license, and they would have to have a Gresham City business license, and now this additional license/permit to practice massage in the city of Gresham. Did I get that right?
Essentially, they would have this special massage business license instead of a regular business license. And it has additional steps that they have to take to get it, and record keeping requirements, and so on and so forth. Which, we've accepted these for businesses that employ massage therapists who aren't massage therapists. But AMTA, doesn't think that it's appropriate to put additional requirements on a healthcare licensee that aren't universal.
Okay. Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Don.
Pleasure. Okay. What other do you?
Yeah. Susie Wagner, license 11194. This might be a simple fix and just a suggestion, but I am one that was very disappointed with the licensing certificate coming in email now and it not being in very good quality. And I have printed it out on like nice cardstock paper, but it still looks really cheesy and it looks like I made it up on the internet. And I'm not proud to put it on the wall. So if there's a pixelation issue or whatever that term is, I'm not sure, to fix to make it a better quality. Because I'm fine with printing it, but the print quality is good.
That's a vendor issue.
No. Fine on the.
Yeah, we had it digitized and,
I've printed them out from the PDF at my office and they're sharp, so I don't know where it's getting lost in the transition to you.
We'll check it though. I mean, we don't know unless we get some feedback, so I will have a Kaite check and make sure that everything is working on our end of it.
And we still retain the option, although there's a fee for it, to have us print it for you on the cardstock. Like the old one.
Yeah.
Till we run out of cardstock or licensure stock.
Because we own basically the patent for that cardstock now. Before we had a vendor that we would order the cardstock for because it's a special kind of stuff. And when we wanted to digitize it and put it online, they said the only way you can do that is to buy that patent from us. So we bought that, and so we own it now. But we'll be able to order any more cardstock until ours runs out.
And I do know it's not just a me issue because it is communicated in the Facebook forums for Oregon that it is not of good quality. So I know.
I'm wondering when Elite attaches it, sometimes if it, depending on the email that receives it, if it's taking away some of the resolution or something.
No. I'll bring mine into the next meeting.
It's what it is the paper you're printing it on. We print it on the cardstock, so it comes out posh and nice, right? But if you're printing it
a normal 20-pound paper.
Yeah, it's like printing out something from something. But some printers can really capture it very well, but some printers cannot. But like Jeff said, if you wanted a hard copy, you can always order a reprint and we will send you a copy. Yeah, this is all the measures we're taking to, cut costs and
I understand that.
And I completely understand, I wanted to look crisp too at full time. But
it's an important document.
Yeah. Did you print it out on cardstock?
Yes.
And it still is fuzzy.
It may depend upon the type of paper, like Kaite was saying, because some paper will absorb and the ink, instead of hold it in place, and will spread a little bit, and you'll give it that fuzzy look to it. So it could be depending on the type of paper.
And I think I just really like the nice.
Absolutely.
You worked really hard.
We'll check on our side, make sure our stuff.
And I'd be happy, you can even email me directly and I'll print one out for you. And
I appreciate it.
there is a fee for it because I got to treat everybody the same. But and it wasn't just a cost saving measure either. It was especially during the COVID thing, the U.S. mail was not delivering.
Oh, it was taking a month, and then half the time it wasn't even getting there.
There were first time applicants that already had a job lined up, had paid all their qualified, got their license issue, and didn't get it for 6 weeks because of the
That
mail.
makes sense.
And so now a renewal is new. As soon as we push the button, it emails to you, everything's updated, you've got your license. There's no downtime in between at all. And that's another bonus. But there is a downside to it that we recognize as well.
Would you be able to take it to like a FedEx or a printing place and maybe ask them about certificate cardstock quality or something, and then take a USB or whatever it
If you're
is?
gonna do that, then you can just call us.
Yeah, call us, we'll save
the trip. Because we can print it for them on cardstock.
On the license.
So we'll
Yeah,
thank you.
because I've been, for so long, I've gotten the nice ones and comparatively they're just not.
I understand.
Oh, okay.
But thank you.
Yeah, is there anything?
Okay.
Bob.
Any other public comment? Looks like Daniel's back on.
That's why I was concerned.
Daniel, did you want to make a public comment?
No, I have nothing to comment about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hi. If you're just now joining us, did you have a public comment you'd like to make?
Well, I do have a question. I don't know.
Sure, can you just state your name and license number if you're a licensee?
I am not licensed. I'm starting the program at this campus involved in a couple weeks. So I thought I'd come by, and I saw on the agenda that you guys discussed licensing for facilities yesterday. So please excuse me if I retread. But I noticed let me pull it up here. My name's Joe, by the way. Joe. So thank you for entertaining my question. Let me see here. Took a screenshot of the code. So in 687.021, practice of massage without license is prohibited, or operation of massage facility without a permit prohibited. So in the first section there, under, let's see, number 2. Hang on, let me do this. Let's see. So B, under the first one, 1B, it says operating a massage facility or purport to operate a massage facility without a permit issued by the board. Under ORS 687.059, unless a person is an individual massage therapist who is working out of the individual's home. So my question is, what is the definition of home? Does that mean the actual residence or the address, such as a built-out mother-in-law suite or a barn-dominium or something that's maybe not in the actual house but built out as a studio on the property with the same address? Would that qualify as a working out of the home, or does that require a new license?
Yeah, so I mean, if I get your question properly, so the intent of that, when we did the facility permit law, the intent of that was to bring in non people who didn't have a healthcare profession license, to make them get a facility permit, so they fell under our jurisdiction. So we had owners that were running massage facilities that were not like a corporation. So we didn't have any jurisdiction over the owner because they didn't have a facility permit. So that exemption is what we're trying to do is we're trying to exempt that facility permit requirement from LMTs, licensed LMTs. Right. And so that language is kind of vague, but the intent of that law and the policy of the board is that if you have an LMT license, then you don't need a facility permit.
Regardless of
whether you're working at home or anywhere else.
Brick and mortar in a strip mall, don't worry about it.
So if you are licensed, once you go through school, if you get your license and you work there, you're fine. If you have a barn-dominium right now and you want to hire 3 people to come work for you because you don't have a license, then that.
Then you would have to
have a facility permit. But if you want to do that and you're the owner and you're going to open the business and run the business in that barn-dominium, you don't need a facility permit once you have your LMT license. Okay. No LMT license, facility permit, LMT license, you're good.
And it's also important to add that when you are doing that, depending on your location, county, city, you want to make sure that you are abiding by that city ordinance and so on. Yes, and zoning rules as well.
So that really comes into play when you're expanding or hiring other professionals to work under you.
Well, if you're, as an LMT, it's never a worry because you're never going to need a facility permit. But if you're not an LMT or a licensed healthcare professional, that's when it comes into play.
Yes.
So like if you were a spa that's owned by the Hilton or something, the Hilton,
well, I mean,
and their management.
The home doesn't matter. No. You can be a massage therapist and practice in the parking lot out there. So the home thing, what I'm trying to tell you is the home is poor language. Yeah. The intent of that language was to exempt licensed massage therapists from getting a permit.
Gotcha.
So the
So
idea,
as a licensed therapist, I can hire other licensed therapists to work in a facility that I built.
Yes.
And I still don't need it.
Correct.
That's right.
You got it.
Correct, yep.
But you could start now if you wanted to get a facility permit.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, if you wanted to hire people, then you could do that. But you have to get a facility permit, so.
Okay. Looks like we are through our public comment. Thank you, everyone. And let's go ahead and move on to our announcements. Let's start with our next meeting is going to be November 17th, 2025, 9 a.m. at the Hampton Inn and Suites in Salem. As always, public are invited to join. And I will see all of board and staff there. Otherwise, I would love to thank our host. This has been a fantastic meeting site, and thank you to the staff who planned and facilitated this. Everything has been very good about this meeting, and I'm very appreciative for all the planning that went into it, all the hosting and support that went into it, and all the people who were able to attend. It's really fantastic for us to get people to come in person, and I hope we start seeing some more people come in person, because it's just an irreplaceable value to us, I think, as like the staff and the board, to have people come.
And Becca, as a reminder, they can get a CE for attending the meeting.
Yep.
So
yeah, this has been fantastic, and I'd just like to thank everybody who went into, or put all the work into prepping for this. Any other announcements?
Special thank you for April for moving us here.
Right?
This is so much better. Thank you so much.
You did a lot of work, and it's appreciated.
Yeah, very much so.
Any other announcements, Director Ruhr?
No.
Guys,
Oh, yeah. You have something?
I have a family event on the next board meeting that I will not be able to attend. The whole cannot be changed.
So, you should say she's not gonna be at the
So
meeting?
you will not be at the next meeting, correct?
I cannot.
Okay,
Okay.
we got you.
Well, we'll have our new board member.
Mhm. Scott, can you remind me you're not missing our next meeting, are you?
I will be present.
Okay. Then we will be good. Okay.
Thanks for the warning.
No more announcements? Fantastic. Then it is time to adjourn our meeting.
Wow.
Can I have a motion to
So
adjourn? And Scott, number 2. All in favor of adjourning our meeting?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The meeting is adjourned at 11:53 a.m. Thank you.
Melissa and Carol, it's nice to see you.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Oh, folks, see you next time.
Okay, bye, guys.